All right, welcome to episode 2 of the Backbone Zone. Now, I know that it says Bone Zone, but we have since found out, since I recorded the first episode, that Bone Zone's already taken. What can you do? We didn't realize it. Definitely don't want to step on anyone's toes. You know, we call it the Bone Zone because Backbone Zone it is. So that's all good. We're super psyched to get back to it. I have plenty of, ideas for episodes that we have coming up in the future. Risty and I have got a few episodes lined up. And, excited to get into it. So I just thought I'd go touch on last week's episode again, just in case you haven't seen it. Then it's on the YouTube channel or it's on our site. So definitely don't hesitate to go and watch it if you haven't already. And thanks to everyone who already has. So it's pretty special to us. Well, special to me for sure, because it's hard putting yourself out there. So anyway, this is it. Last week's episode, I kind of just touched on hardcore BMX and what I thought hardcore BMX meant in terms of sometimes how the competitive BMX rider gets a bit of shade thrown at them. Anyhow, a few people weighed in on the, with their opinion too, which was really cool. Had Jesus, my man Jesus from Spain, who actually moved to Canberra for a little while and worked at the shop back in 2011. He threw his hat into the mix with his opinion, which is really, really cool. Jump onto our Instagram if you want to read that. A few other people throwing down. Josh Betley. I'm pretty sure that dude's from Las Vegas or something. But anyway, he let us know about Bone Zone. Jim Nelson hitting up questions about, wondering if we were going to bring back Ask Backbone Wednesday, which is kind of what the Backbone Zone is now. But some cool questions and cool feedback. So thank you very much. I actually thought we would jump into that whole competitive and hardcore BMX thing. So last week, I'm not going to go into the whole idea and dive into it deeply, but I basically said that competitive BMX riders, are very hardcore and they sacrifice a lot in order to become, nothing but a professional BMX athlete. But what I did want to say was that I didn't really touch on was that the idea of BMX is that it transcends what a sport is. It's not just a sport, although it can be viewed as a sport. It can be an art form and it can be a creative expression, or it can just be a way for someone to clear their head. It can be a complete hobby. And something I've always known, and I guess last week I wanted to touch on the competitive aspect of BMX, because there was someone who was probably naively dissed that at one point, probably in my early 20s. I think I said that last week. But the thing that's most important about BMX, or the thing that's really cool about BMX, is that it can be anything to anyone. And that's very, very important, because you do not have to be a competitive rider in order to ride BMX. You don't have to be good at BMX. Man, you barely even have to ride BMX. You can just be a fan. As far as riding around the lake or riding down the street, you can be any age. It doesn't matter, and that's what's beautiful about BMX. It can be anything to anyone, and I think once you realize that you can express yourself through BMX, you can, that's where BMX becomes so amazing and all-encompassing, because once you realize you don't have to be good at it, but you are the one that enjoys going and building jumps, then that can be your creative outlet and that can be your expression of BMX. And if BMX is riding down the street and you're, an older rider, or you are just brand new to it, then no doubt the feeling of riding down the street on flat ground, cruising around, maybe doing some carves on flat ground, that can feel as good to you as the person who is so good that they can do a 720 tail whip. The feeling that they get from BMX is probably the same as the feeling that you get from BMX. It's just that from the outsiders looking in, that's what makes, BMX impressive to them. Like an outsider looking in will see a 720 tail whip and see that that's super impressive. But to the person that's in BMX and doing BMX, man, we all know that it doesn't matter what you're doing, because it's all about the way it feels. Or at least that's a big part of it to me. And I think that's where it's really cool for BMX, because it's an art form. You don't have to necessarily be doing the most technically perfect portraiture in order to create art. You can create art however you want. And that's the beautiful thing about BMX, because as well, to add another layer to it, you can be any skill level, but that's where originality really comes from in BMX. There's so many different disciplines, but then within the disciplines, there's so many things that people will really, really enjoy. And I think it's really important to recognize that mainstream doesn't necessarily mean bad in the case of being available for anyone to do. You could argue that, say, practicing yoga or something like that is super mainstream. There's yoga studios all over the world, all over Australia. It seems like everyone does it. People talk about it all the time. Now, does that make hardcore yogis disappointed because this used to be this tight thing for them, and now everyone's doing yoga? I would like to think, I'd like to hope not, because you can be someone who's brand new to yoga and not even be able to touch your toes, and it's going to be beneficial to you because you are finding something from it, whether it's like a physical activity or a mental clarity or things like that, or a meditative experience. And that's one of the things that I love about BMX, is that no one has to be any good at it. No one has to be doing it a certain way. And in a lot of ways, I think that a lot more people could get into BMX. And like I said, yoga is super mainstream. It helps out a lot of people in a lot of different ways, from physical to spiritual to mental. And BMX can be anyone's yoga. There's no reason why there couldn't be millions of people riding BMX, or millions more people riding BMX, because you can't tell me that when, for the people that actually ride, you can't tell me that when you go riding, you don't have clarity while you're riding. You're not thinking about anything else. Or maybe when you are thinking about other stuff, you're seeing it in a much more clear way. And that's the exact same thing that yoga or meditation or any of those, practices can do. So for me, I just want to put it out there that there's nothing wrong with BMX being something that a lot more people get into, and that a lot of people can find what they are searching for with either physical activity, mental clarity, even somewhat you can become spiritual riding BMX. Like, I don't mean spiritual as in religious. I just mean, you can find greater meaning and depth to your life by riding bikes. I know that I have. So yeah, that's kind of the counter argument to my own conversation last week. I just wanted to touch on that. Just wanted to get you thinking, definitely be appreciative of what BMX can give you, and don't feel like you have to be good at it in order to take part. So yeah, the last thing I wanted to touch on is that we just put out a video. Happy birthday, Riss. By the way, Boss Man, aka Riss Williams, who started this whole damn backbone thing. He turned 46 on Friday, on the 6th. Anyway, had a trail jam, and it was sick. It was really nice to ride the trails with a bunch of friends. I made a video, so I tried to whip it up as fast as I could. It's online. Play a little bit over here. Yeah, make sure you go and watch that on our website or on the YouTube channel. Definitely worth it. Just so you are aware, Will Gunn, man, he's riding better than I've ever seen him ride. And that's saying something, because he's always riding better than everyone. So you'll definitely see it in that video. That was chilled, and man, Will just absolutely destroys. So definitely go and watch that video. Anyway, that's it for this week's Backbone Zone podcast. The one thing that I did want to make sure to say, as lame as it sounds, it would be awesome if you like the video on YouTube. It would be awesome if you subscribe to the Backbone YouTube channel. And the big thing, to be honest, is just like BMX can be mainstream and be anything to anyone, I'm not trying to be an authority on BMX. I'm just sharing an opinion, and I want to hear you guys' opinion back. So please leave me a comment. Leave us a comment on the Instagram or on YouTube. We'll be reading them. Even if you've got ideas or you have thoughts on BMX or anything that I have to say, good or bad, I'd love to hear it. And yeah, just appreciate you guys, and thanks for tuning in. See ya.